We have here a sketch profile that we want to duplicate using Solid Edge. And this could be extruded to form a base feature like is shown here. We're just going to make the 2D sketch. And the way it'll proceed is create a new part and then just draw the rough outline of this sketch or of this shape. Finally, I'll add lots of constraints and dimensions, which are themselves constraints. So I guess I'll just add constraints in order to lock it into this shape that we want here. So let me create a new part. And things might run a little slowly since this is in a virtual machine. You can work in either the synchronous or ordered environment. I prefer ordered just because that's what I'm used to. And so let me change that there and I'll create this sketch. Now I'm also used to sketching on the XY plane. So I'll go ahead and choose that plane. Now the first thing I want to do is draw the rough outline. I'll use the line tool and just click at one end, drag the mouse, click at the other end. And things will automatically, well, Solid Edge will try to pick line lengths and directions that it thinks I want. So things will be horizontal, vertical, and things will line up end to end if I get close to it. So you can see that dashed red line is showing that these are going to be this horizontal. Not horizontal, but at the same height. And here's the vertical line. The thing to think about with all these helps it's doing, is that it's drawn that way, but the constraints aren't necessarily added. So these vertical lines here and horizontal there show that these are horizontal and vertical lines. So those constraints are added. But I also made it so that this endpoint was at the same height as this endpoint. You could see that dashed red line that was there when I was drawing, but that constraint didn't get applied. It just drew it at that length. So just because it's shown at that length doesn't mean it's constrained to be that length. Anyway, in our sketch, we have a vertical line and then a tangent arc. So let me hit the A button and it'll switch to the arc tool. And it's tangent, and then at the end of that line it'll go back. So here you can see this vertical line I'm drawing now in the red. It is going to be at the same height as the other side. That dashed red line shows that it's going to be at the same height. So I'll click it, and it's drawn at the same height, but it's not constrained to be that height. So here I'll draw the other horizontal line and come back down, and I want to click on the endpoint here. And now this line and this line, their endpoints are constrained to be together. This line didn't end up being vertical, but that's okay. I can just come and add a horizontal vertical constraint. So here are all my relations, or constraints as I call them. And let me just click that line, and now it's a vertical line. Well, it has a horizontal vertical constraint. So we've got the rough shape, but we could still drag it all around. It's not really constrained at all, so I can just change things at will just by dragging them. And we don't want that. Well, we want it to be totally defined in the way that we say. So I'll go ahead and add the fillets. So here's a fillet, and I want to make it 10 millimeters, so let me type that into the box. And again, these are going to be drawn to be 10 millimeters, but they're not constrained to be 10 millimeters yet. So I could grab one of these fillets and drag it around, and it would change radius. So let's see. Now it's locked in. This one is locked in at 10 millimeters. These other ones are still not constrained, but I'm going to set them all equal to that one I just drew. So I get the equal constraint, and I'll hold down the shift key so I can multi-select. So I got that one, that one, that one, and now before I want to click my last one, I let go of the shift key and click this, and now all four of those fillets have the same radius. And while I've got the equal constraint up, let me do some more. So this side is the same length as that side. This is the same length as that, and then all four of these vertical lines are the same. So, oops, I should have shift clicked it. Shift clicked? Okay, I still did. And let go of shift, and now click the last one. So all four of those are the same height. And I'll use the Smart Dimension tool to add my widths. You can either click one line and it'll give you the length of that line, or you can click two and it'll give you the distance between them. This is supposed to be 240 according to our drawing. This distance here is supposed to be 40, and it should change the distance of this too because I've constrained them to be equal. This is 30, and it'll change the other width there on the notch, and this is 30. Okay, so now we've got the bottom done, and we change the radius here. Again, the Smart Dimension tool It just automatically selects the type of dimension you would probably want to use. So you can see that sometimes whenever you're adding constraints, things get moved out of shape. Solid Edge will just automatically move things around to change as little as possible, but it's sometimes not what you want. So let me just drag it back roughly into place. I'll add a constraint to this semicircle and the midpoint of this line and make them constrained to be vertical. So now I can't move it from left to right. Let me add another constraint to make these vertical lines the same height, and it should move things back up where they were. And I think all it's left is to dimension this height. So you can see that 140, but we want to be careful and not just dimension this line, because there's also that 10 millimeters from the chamfer. So we want to dimension from this line up to this line. So Smart Dimension, I'll click that line, and then I'll click the other line, and can say that's 140. And we've also got from here up to the center of the circle, and I can just click the circle and it'll automatically choose the center for me. And I think that was 170 from the drawing. Okay, so that might be most everything with the outside of the shape. Let me see. I grab stuff and drag it around, and nothing looks like it's changing with the profile, but it's still moving. So that means that none of these lines are going to change relative to each other, but they're changing in space. So their positions are changing in space. So I use the connect constraint to connect this midpoint to the end of that line. Okay, so now everything turned black because it's fully constrained. And I had that, by default that's not turned on, but I had that set in Inspect. So the Inspect tab, you can click this button, Relationship Colors. If that's off, then everything's just always blue, but if it's on, then it'll show the colors change with the relationship. So when everything became fully constrained, all the lines became black. And one thing left is a circle, and it is an 80 millimeter diameter circle. So Smart Dimension tool, and we want this to be, the center of this to be on the center of that. So we use the coincident constraint, and now we're done with this profile that we were supposed to make. And what you need to do for the deliverable is to record a video just showing. You don't need to record the video of making the parts that you're supposed to work on, but once you've made it, just open up that part file and record a video of the part file. So there's the file. You can see the sketch on the XY plane, and you can come here and record and save that and then upload it to YouTube, or just upload directly through Solid Edge, and that'll be the submission. So in this video we've seen a fair amount about using the different tools for drawing, such as line and circle, and then the different constraints and how to know when a sketch is totally locked into the shape that you have it.